What's a quote that permanently changed the way you look at things? Let go or be dragged, an old Zen proverb I heard at a meditation class. You might be the sweetest peach on the tree, but some people just don't like peaches. This helped me get over my lifelong desire to be liked by everyone, and allowed me to focus on becoming someone I actually liked. I've had a lot of worries in my life, most of which never happened. Mark Twain. Found it on a workbook for anxiety disorders. Long time ago I was meeting two women on the sidewalk, and just as we passed each other I heard this one sentence from one of them. You don't notice your progress in life because you are always raising the bar. And now that you don't have to be perfect, you can be good. John Steinbeck. Worrying only means you suffer twice. Edit. Thanks for the awards, guys. I'm all aflutter. : It is the mark of an educated mind to be able to entertain a thought without accepting it. Aristotle. And yes, it isn't the real quote, but elementary school age me internalized that thought and I have applied it to everything ever since then. The best time to plant a tree was 20 years ago. The second best time is now. Do you listen or just wait to speak? Graveyards are full of irreplaceable people. That quote helped me stop going down the path of working myself to death because my job needs me. It's easy to fool someone. One of the saddest lessons of history is this. If we've been bamboozled long enough, we tend to reject any evidence of the bamboozle. We're no longer interested in finding out the truth. The bamboozle has captured us. It's simply too painful to acknowledge, even to ourselves, that we've been taken. Once you give a charlatan power over you, you almost never get it back. Don't set yourself on fire to keep others warm. When people show you who they are, believe them. Courage doesn't always roar. Sometimes it is a quiet voice at the end of the day saying, I will try again tomorrow. Marianne Radmacher. I came across this a long time ago, at a point in life that I really needed this lesson. It's okay if I feel sad and resigned. If my depression beat me for today and I wasn't able to function, I didn't fail. I'm not weak. I will try again tomorrow. The bee doesn't waste its time trying to convince the fly that honey is better than tea. Look again at that dot. That's here. That's home. That's us. On it, everyone you love. Everyone you know. Everyone you ever heard of. Every human being who ever was. Lived out their lives. The aggregate of our joy and suffering. Thousands of confident religions, ideologies, and economic doctrines. Every hunter and forager. Every hero and coward. Every creator and destroyer of civilization. Every king and peasant. Every young couple in love. Every mother and father. Hopeful child. Inventor and explorer. Every teacher of morals. Every corrupt politician. Every superstar. Every supreme leader. Every saint and sinner in the history of our species lived there on a mote of dust suspended in a sunbeam. Carl Sagan. That mountain you've been carrying, you were only supposed to climb, really helped me overcome a lot of traumatic experiences and difficult chapters in my life. I hope it helps someone else out there. Dear Abby's response to a writer thinking of going back to school but worried that she will be 40 by the time she got her degree. How old will you be in 4 years if you do not get your degree? You are going to be 40 anyway, you circumflex with or without your degree. It reminded me that letting age stop me from my plans was just silly. Also, working at a community college and seeing so many people going back to school in their 30s, 40s, 50s and thriving. The quote really spoke to me. The axe forgets. The tree remembers. Osa Zimbabwean proverb. People don't forget how they were treated. That's why it's so important to be kind. Edited to add. I honestly did not expect this to blow up. Thanks y'all. I saw this one time under a post about parenting and it stuck with me. As a mother of 2 stubborn toddlers, Some days are rough and filled with thin patience and frustration. I use this quote to remind myself that how I am with them will be what helps to shape them. My husband and I set the example for them. And both of us had crappy childhoods. I don't want them traumatized like I was as a child. I want them to be molded with love, not negativity. Just because you lost me as a friend doesn't mean you gained me as an enemy. I still want to see you eat, just not at my table. Be afraid, but do it anyway. Don't let a wishbone grow where a backbone should be. It's no use wasting time worrying what other people think about you. No one is thinking about you. And remember to take care of yourself. You can't pour from an empty cup. If you're trying to break a habit, don't say, "Oh, this is the last time I'm doing it," to yourself. Instead, say, "Oh, this is the first time I'm not doing it." Assume whoever you're listening to knows something you don't. Your kid isn't giving you a hard time. They're having a hard time. I can do anything, but I can't do everything. The first draft is just you telling yourself the story. Terry Pratchett. I'm not sure why this quote struck me so hard, but it completely changed the way I approach writing. Just get your ideas down in run-on sentences and asides to yourself and loads of comma at parts you haven't figured out yet. It took me more than 30 years to realize that a first draft isn't just a rough version of the final draft. It's a map for yourself and no one else. You cannot convince people to love you. This is an absolute rule. No one will ever give you love because you want him or her to give it. Real love moves freely in both directions. Don't waste your time on anything else. I understand there's a guy inside me who wants to lay in bed, smoke weed all day, and watch cartoons and old movies. My whole life is a series of stratagems to avoid and outwit that guy. Compare yourself to who you were yesterday, not who someone else is today. Everyone is somebody else's weirdo. I visited Pearl Harbor this week, and the one that struck me was there were many acts of heroism that day. Not all of them recorded. It reminds me that even when nobody is watching, it's still important to put forward your best. The pain I feel now is the happiness I had before. That's the deal. C.S. Never attribute to malice that which can be adequately explained by stupidity. Hanlon's razor. Not everyone's out to get you. There are a lot of stupid people in the world. Resentment is like taking poison and waiting for the other person to die. Honey, I hope it's the worst thing that ever happens to you. From my dad when I was complaining about something. He probably didn't intend for it to be deep or anything, but it puts things in perspective. I think of it all the time. Paraphrased, when people act crazy, they're either actually crazy, which is unlikely, or there's a good reason for their behavior that you just haven't figured out. Dr. David Burns in his book Feeling Good Together. Excellent book about getting along with people and trying to understand them. Edit. Whoa. Thanks for the awards and the discussions here. It's worth mentioning that in my quote, crazy really refers to surprising or unreasonable behavior, not genuine mentalness. And good reason refers more to an explanation for the behavior. The point of the quote is to not write people off because you don't understand them. Today is the oldest you've ever been in your life and the youngest you'll ever be again. Don't put off the important in favor of the urgent. We're all going to die. All of us. What a circus. That alone should make us love each other. But it doesn't. We are terrorized and flattened by trivialities. We are eaten up by nothing. You can't blame a blind person for being blind. You just don't let them drive your car. There's a Buddhist quote. There's not a lot of things worth caring about. Told to me by a close friend. And it really helped me get over my insecurities and self-consciousness. I had a professor in college, he called it the 10-90 rule. Life is 10% what happens to you and 90% how you react to it. Changed my life. When I became a man, I put away childish things, including the fear of childishness and the desire to be very grown up. C.S. A ship in harbor is safe, but that is not what ships are built for. End of Bojack Season 2. It gets easier. Every day it gets easier. But you gotta do it every day. Also from Bojack. When you look at someone through rose-colored glasses, all the red flags just look like flags. Socializing is just like any skill. You need to practice before you're good at it. My mum. Comforting me when I was struggling to make friends. Edit. Thanks for the awards. I assure you, next time I see my mum I'll tell her about your compliments. If you are lonely when you're alone, you are in bad company. The people who say you can't and you won't are usually the ones scared that you will. On the wall, the background of an episode of The Killing. People don't think about you as much as you imagine they do. I wish it need not have happened in my time, said Frodo. So do I, said Gandalf. And so do all who live to see such times. But that is not for them to decide. All we have to decide is what to do with the time that is given us. Regret always comes later. My father always says this, don't know where he get this from, but a lot of good things happened in my life just because of this. Luck favors the prepared. I used to have some pretty severe anxiety as a kid and would freak out if there was any hint of danger or risk of moderate failure. My parents started not just saying what's the worst that could happen, but actually talking me through the actual worst case scenario. And more often than not, things would still always be fine. I still run through a hypothetical worst case scenario before making big decisions or intense situations, and it still calms me down. If you look for the light, you will often find it. But if you look for the dark, it is all you will ever see. Uncle Iroh, Legend of Korra, has helped me through some dark times in the past. Just looking for that small bit of good in a heap of bad. Honesty without kindness is brutality. Just because it's not your fault doesn't mean it's not your responsibility. Worrying is a waste of your imagination. I saw it spray painted on a sidewalk somewhere. Whoa. My first awards. Hope it helped some people while also hoping it didn't offend others. It's not a quote. A distant friend once told me that you have to work at friendships. It completely changed my outlook. I just thought friendships came naturally to people wanting to hang out, gifting, etc. But since then, I recognized I needed to do my part. And my friends were doing theirs. It's in German. It goes. Wer kein tilder MPFT. Kann verlieren. Wer nicht kein tilder MPFT. Hat schon verloren. Which translates to whoever fights can lose. Whoever doesn't fight has already lost. Use what talents you possess. The woods will be very silent if no birds sang there except those that sang best. You train people how to treat you, unconsciously or not. Sometimes you're the bug. Sometimes you're the windshield. I was the victim of a series of accidents. As we all are. Draw a monster. Why is it a monster? A person is smart. People are dumb. Panicky, dangerous animals, and you know it. 1500 years ago everybody knew the earth was the center of the universe. 500 years ago, everybody knew the earth was flat. And 15 minutes ago, you knew that humans were alone on this planet. Imagine what you'll know tomorrow. Agent K. Edit. Thank you for the silver medal. Tyrion Lannister's death is so terribly final. If you treat an individual as he is, he will remain how he is. But if you treat him as if he were what he ought to be and could be, he will become what he ought to be and could be. Johann Wolfgang von Goethe. This beautiful quote helped me realize that belittling or looking down upon others even if it seems justified or warranted, never helps any of us to grow and become better. The past is just a story we tell ourselves. From the movie Her. Everything can be taken from a man but one thing. The last of the human freedoms to choose one's attitude in any given set of circumstances. From my therapist. Don't know where she got it. When you're the ocean, you don't have to be afraid of the waves. I remember this when feeling overwhelmed. It's possible to commit no mistakes and still lose. That is not weakness. That is life. There's a lot of narcissism and self-hatred. David Foster Wallace. Off the top of my head, Gov Schwarzenegger said something like you can either be a negative or positive person in life. But only one will get you somewhere in an AMA once. I am a pretty pessimistic person. When I read that though, it made me think about a lot of things like how my life and outlook is. I would say that single quote of his helped me evolve a lot about my life. He's right. I love hearing feedback like this and I'm glad it helped. You only have so much energy. So I'd rather use it for solutions than for beating myself up or complaining. Everybody falls. So use your energy to get up. Not to complain that you're on the ground. The only thing we learn from history is that we learn nothing from history. My grandfather once told me, no matter where you go, if you wouldn't take advice from them, why would you take criticism? Some did on YouTube. I just never thought of it that way before. And I stopped spending so much energy trying to get people to like me. I wish there was a way to know you were in the good ole days. Before you've actually left them. Honesty without kindness is brutality. Kindness without honesty is manipulation. No one raindrop thinks it causes the flood. Time wasted having fun was never wasted time. People often confuse stress with responsibility. Have nothing in your houses that you do not know to be useful. Or believe to be beautiful. Don't underestimate the other guy's greed. Never half-ass two things. Whole-ass one thing. The start of the serenity prayer. Grant me the serenity to accept the things I cannot change. Courage to change the things I can. And wisdom to know the difference. I'm not religious and I've never been in a recovery group. But that speaks to me so much. I'm a small part of a big universe and there are things outside my control. All I can hope to do about such things is control my reaction to them. Making myself an emotional wreck isn't going to alter the situation. This has added greatly to my happiness. In order to empathize with someone's experience, you must be willing to believe them as they see it and not how you imagine their experience to be. Be kind. For everyone you meet is fighting a battle you know nothing about. And if you choose not to decide, you still have made a choice. Rush. I used to struggle with indecisiveness even on important time-sensitive issues. But no action is a choice to keep things the way they are, and I had to learn that. Also, and through all of these thoughts, a buzzing anxiety. Anxiety like electricity. And I knew, in that moment, that anxiety is just an energy. It is an uncontrollable near infinite energy. Surging within me. And for once I stopped trying to contain it. Keisha Alice isn't dead. I struggle with anxiety a lot and it made me realize that need to run from my problems can be channeled into fixing them at times. It's still best to avoid it when I can. There are two paths you can go by. But in the long run there's still time to change the road you're on. There are two ways to live your life. One is as though nothing is a miracle. The other is as though everything is a miracle. We choose to go to the moon and do the other things not because they are easy, but because they are hard. JFK. In Victory. A lesson learned is a lesson earned. Star Wars Clone Wars. Henri Poincaré. Science is built up of facts. As a house is with stones. But a collection of facts is no more a science than a heap of stones is a house. I'm too late for anyone to see this. But the one that changed my life and still applies. You will never remember the days nights you stay home and do nothing. Tons of times I didn't really feel like going somewhere or doing a plan, but I think about the sentence and usually end up going. 100% of the times. I ended up not regretting having gone. Even if it was a shitty. Since it's another story for your life that would have never been written if I had gone home. If you find yourself repeatedly questioning whether or not something is right for you, the answer is usually no. If it were right, you wouldn't keep questioning it. Life is precious, both you can't watch it again. Ricky Gervais. You don't have a soul. You are a soul. You have a body. C.S. It is not a lack of time. It is a lack of priority. Don't be the tugboat. Be childish when you can and mature when you have to. Charity is just poor people from rich countries giving money to rich people in poor countries. Some guy in a book. I love this quote because it illustrates how even the most righteous path can be plagued with corruption. The days are long. The years are short. Heard this after I had my first kid. Couldn't be more true. It takes a really long time to realize how truly miserable you are. And even longer to realize it doesn't have to be that way. From BoJack Horseman. It was the tipping point for me beating my depression. Going on 3 years depression free. It is possible. Keep holding on. Every journey begins with the first step. The things you own end up owning you. One of my dad's favorites. You won't be able to understand illogical behavior with a logical thought process. Over the years it stopped me getting quite so frustrated at the behavior of others. As corny as it sounds. Protect your energy. I think I was around a lot of people who were not mean or cruel or destructive towards. But were just so negative that they kept me down a lot. I felt bad because they were friends and never did anything bad to me. But they were not uplifting at all. And I always felt down around them. But now I have better friends who laugh with me and cheer me up and bring light towards me. And it is really great. There is a healthy amount of distrust to have in everyone. Nobody's intentions are truly clear. Even after stated. You aren't crazy. You're intelligent. I was having an episode of paranoia thinking I was abnormal for needing people to earn my trust. My grandmother pulled me right out with those few sentences. Gacha life is gay. Based. As people don't get what they deserve. I saw it on here somewhere a while ago and it's really changed my outlook. I guess I believed in karma loads, but actually that's all BS. Bad stuff happens to good people and assholes live long and happy lives. We don't read and write poetry because it's cute. We read and write poetry because we are members of the human race. And the human race is filled with passion. And medicine. Law. Business. Engineering. These are noble pursuits and necessary to sustain life. But poetry. Beauty. Romance. Love. These are what we stay alive for. M.R. Keaton. What other people think of you is none of your business. I can't remember who said it. It might have been Betty White. You miss 100% of the shots you don't take. Wayne Gretzky. Mitchell Scott. Travel is fatal to prejudice, bigotry, and narrow-mindedness. And many of our people need it sorely on these accounts. Broad, wholesome, charitable views of men and things cannot be acquired by vegetating in one little corner of the earth all one's lifetime. Mark Twain. Truly one of my favorites. God created war so Americans would learn geography. Advertising has us chasing cars and clothes. Working jobs we hate so we can buy shit we don't need. We're the middle children of history. Man. No purpose or place. We have no great war. No great depression. Our great war's a spiritual war. Our great depression is our lives. We've all been raised on television to believe that one day we'd all be millionaires. And movie gods. and rock stars. But we won't. And we're slowly learning that fact. And we're very, very pissed off.